Everyone knows Yuri Gagarin was the first man in space in 1961. Or so we're told. But what if he wasn't? What if someone else went before him and never came back? This isn't just conspiracy talk. There are intercepted transmissions, missing cosmonauts, and radio logs that tell a very different story. One the Soviet Union never acknowledged. This is the story of the Lost Cosmonauts, the ghosts of the space race. In the late 1950s, two Italian brothers, Achille and Giovanni Judica-Cordiglia, set up a radio listening station in Turin. Their goal? Capture space signals from satellites and spacecraft, but what they recorded went far beyond normal telemetry. They intercepted strange transmissions, signals that didn't match any known Soviet mission, disturbing sounds, coded messages, and eventually, voices that shouldn't exist. One of the most chilling recordings came in May of 1961. A female voice speaking Russian could be heard saying, "I feel hot, I feel hot, am I going to crash?" The signal grew fainter until it vanished. This wasn't from any documented mission. No woman was officially sent into space until Valentina Tereshkova, 2 years later. So, who was she? Over the next several years, the brothers captured more transmissions, heartbeats, Morse code, cries for help, and sounds of struggle, all coming from space. Each time, the Soviet Union made no announcements, no launches, no accidents, nothing. But the recordings tell a different story. And these weren't wild guesses. They matched known orbital paths, launch windows, and frequencies. Some believe these transmissions came from secret Soviet missions, attempts to beat the Americans into space. But in the Soviet system, failure was not an option. Cosmonauts who died on the launch pad or were lost in orbit, they were erased from history, their missions scrubbed, their names deleted. This wasn't a theory, it was doctrine. We now know of several cosmonauts who were trained, photographed, even celebrated, but never launched. Or so we were told. Names like Andrei Mitkov, Ivan Kachur, and Maria Gromova show up in training rosters, but not on flight records. Some theorists believe these were the lost ones, early test subjects in crude, untested rockets. In 1959, a Soviet news broadcast briefly showed a funeral for unnamed cosmonauts. The footage was never aired again. Later, photos of cosmonaut groups were quietly edited, faces removed, names changed. In some cases, entire people disappeared from official records. What happened to them, and why go to such lengths to hide it? Skeptics argue the Judica-Cordiglia brothers were either mistaken or fabricating their evidence. After all, they weren't scientists. They were amateurs, but their recordings were precise, documented, cross-referenced with other observatories, and even NASA analysts found them interesting. One space historian called the female transmission disturbing but plausible. One theory suggests the Soviets launched suborbital test flights with human passengers, perhaps political prisoners, to gather live data. When missions failed, there would be no need to explain, just deny they ever existed. It sounds brutal, but during the Cold War, human life was often treated as expendable for the sake of national pride. There's also the mystery of the so-called Phantom Capsule. A 1962 US satellite detected an unidentified object in orbit that shouldn't have been there. It wasn't responding to any known frequency. Days later, it vanished from radar. Could it have been a lost Soviet pod, an escape gone wrong? No one has answered that. In 1963, Valentina Tereshkova became the first woman in space, officially, but her training record shows a female cosmonaut group formed in 1960. Only one made it to orbit. The others? Never flown, or never returned. Some believe one of them may be the voice in the Judica-Cordiglia tapes, burned alive during re-entry. Then, there's the strange case of Soviet cosmonaut Valentin Bondarenko. He died during training in 1961, horribly burned. The USSR kept his death secret for 25 years. If they could hide that, what else might they have covered up? Bondarenko's image was also erased from early cosmonaut group photos. The Judica-Cordiglia brothers released their tapes to the public in the 1970s. Skeptics dismissed them, but independent analysts verified the transmission paths and dates. Even Soviet defectors admitted that unreported failures had occurred, though they never confirmed human casualties. Still, the evidence builds, and the mystery deepens. In total, the brothers claim to have recorded up to 9 different lost missions. Some transmissions were barely audible, others were crystal clear, but all shared one thing in common: desperation, cries, breathing, metal banging, and in the background, silence from the Soviet government. Modern Russian officials still deny any knowledge of such missions. They cite propaganda, misidentified signals, even outright hoaxes. But what they can't explain is why multiple names were removed from cosmonaut records, or why launch towers were built, then abandoned with no explanation. To this day, some historians believe the lost cosmonaut theory is Cold War fiction, a psychological weapon, but others point to satellite logs, shadowy launch reports, and international monitoring that caught glimpses of what the Soviets tried to hide. Not proof, exactly, but not nothing. If true, the implications are chilling. These were pioneers, people who risked their lives to go where no human had gone before, and were forgotten. No monuments, no medals, no graves. Just fading signals drifting in the void, ghosts in orbit. Some of the Judica-Cordiglia tapes still exist today, archived in Italy, digitized online. You can hear them yourself. The heartbeat, the breathing, the woman's voice. If these are hoaxes, they're elaborate ones. If they're real, then we've rewritten space history. So, were there truly lost cosmonauts, or was it all propaganda, amplified by fear and mystery? Maybe we'll never know, but the silence from official records and the eerie transmissions from space leave a void that's hard to ignore. What do you think? Did the Soviets send people to space before Gagarin and never tell the world? Are the voices real, or is this Cold War legend? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And remember, sometimes the truth isn't up there, it's buried down here.